Okay, in yesterday's class, sorry, in previous class, we discussed about roles of manager. Okay, in this class, we are going to discuss about managerial skills. Okay, as engineers, you are going to acquire technical skills throughout your graduation. Okay, along with that, so you need to have some managerial skills so that you can work at higher levels, okay, rather than being at the first level or at the supervisory level. So you can be successful at top levels also, and you can become even entrepreneur where so you are the boss and you will be at the top management. Okay, some of the skills are required to manage an organization, similar to having some technical knowledge, okay, in your particular domain. If you want to run an organization, you should possess managerial skills. Okay. So next, what do you mean by skill? In general, a skill is an individual's ability to perform physical or mental tasks with a specified outcome. Okay. Suppose if you have technical skills and if you are able to repair car, okay, if you are able to operate a machine, that is the physical skill with some technological knowledge. Okay. So if you do some physical work because of the skill you are having to do that particular work, that is the physical skill. Okay, so there are some mental tasks which you have to do. Okay, so that is the mental skill. So that means it may be related to analyzing a particular situation and coming with some ideas. Okay, if there is a problem and if you have to solve that problem, then that requires some mental activity. Okay, so those are mental tasks. A skill is an individual's ability to perform physical and mental tasks with a specified outcome. Okay, so this management most of the times it deals with mental tasks. That means you have to take decisions, you have to take correct decisions. Okay, skill is not necessarily inborn. That means ಏನೋ ಹುಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲೇ ನನಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ, ರಕ್ತದಲ್ಲೇ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಲ್ವಾ. ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ ನೀಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಬಿ with inborn. Okay, so skill is not necessary inborn. That means you are going to acquire, you can acquire these skills with the help of reading, with the help of having practical exposure to a lot of things. Okay, and with the help of learning from your own mistakes or your own experience, you can acquire skills. Okay, that's why skill is not necessarily inborn. Okay, ಹುಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲೇ ಏನು ಎಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ಸು ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. Okay, that is the meaning. It can be developed through practice and through translating one's knowledge and experience into action. Okay, even though if you don't have any skill because of the social capital, okay, that means the family okay, so that you belong to and the caste in which you born. Okay, so like that there are many issues that will decide the skill set at the initial stages of your life. Okay, even though if you don't have those skills because of the family in which you born. Okay, so the caste, the region in which you born. Okay, so if you don't have skills, then you can develop those skills with practice, by acquiring knowledge and by learning from your own experience. Okay, so next, here we discussed skill is not necessarily inborn. Okay, if it is not necessarily inborn, then why it is happening? If skill is not inborn, why a businessman's son can easily become a successful businessman? A politician's son or daughter can easily become a successful politician. A lawyer's son can easily become a successful lawyer. And an actor, a film actor's son can easily become an actor. If skill is not inborn, why this is happening in our society? Okay, anyone can answer for this question.
Sir, because
Oh.
they will train their children in such a way, sir, and moreover they will be influenced by their parents, sir. That's why they become so.
Okay, so because of parents, and because of the exposure they get, okay, so they will be successful. Any other answers? Why a businessman's son can easily become a successful businessman? Okay, you know about some of the families which are running corporate houses from many decades, from Tata, Birla, Ambani, Adani. Okay, so even their fathers were businessmen. So now they are businessmen. In coming days, their sons or daughters will be businessmen or businesswomen. Okay. Similarly, you can find examples in many other fields also. Okay. Film actor's son will be a successful actor. Okay. What are the reasons?
They will get investments, sir, easily.
So they will get investment easily. Okay. So that means they can get, if they want to become an actor, they can get producers easily. Okay.
Fame.
Okay. Other than that, social capital plays a huge role. Okay, so because of the family in which you born, suppose if you born in a businessman family, there is more possibility that you can easily become a successful businessman. If you born in a family where there are many liars, okay, there is more possibility that you can become a good lawyer. Okay, if you born in a family where there are film actors, okay, you can become, there is more possibility that you can become a film actor. Okay, if you born in a family where so there are many people who have post graduation or at least graduation, then there is a possibility that you also going to complete that graduation. Okay, so that will be decided by social capital. Okay, because of many reasons, people who born in some as poor, or people who born in some deprived caste, okay, so they will lose the social capital. Okay, because of that, for them coming up the ladder in any particular field is a difficult task because they lack social capital. Okay, in order to overcome this, so we have some measures like reservation and all. Okay, so by keeping in mind social capital, so we have reservation and other facilities for deprived caste. Okay, so in order to provide social justice, that is required. Okay, next, in order to understand what is social capital and why reservation is needed, okay, how it will affect acquiring skills through a person's life. If you read the books from one of the French intellectual, okay, Pierre Bourdieu, you can understand. Okay, so he proposed a theory called habitat. Okay, if you born in a family where there are musicians, there is more probability that you can become a good singer or you can become a good musician. Okay, like that, if you born in a family of teachers, okay, you may excel in the field of education. Okay, so all these are because of the family background that you are having. Okay, so that will play a vital role in acquiring skills. Okay, so again, one of the statement by Pierre Bourdieu in his book in Canada. Okay, I read this book 1 year back. There's a statement. Okay, so if you know Kannada, you can read this. Okay, ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಬಂಡವಾಳವನ್ನು ವರ್ಗಾಯಿಸುವಷ್ಟು ಸುಲಭವಾಗಿ ಇನ್ನಿತರ ಬಂಡವಾಳಗಳ ವರ್ಗಾವಣೆ ಆಗಲಿ ಗಳಿಕೆಯಾಗಲಿ ಸಾಧ್ಯವಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸಮಯ ಬೇಡುತ್ತದೆ. The meaning of this is you can easily transfer if you have money. Okay, and if you are ready to transfer this money immediately, you can transfer. But if you have some skills, suppose if you are a good musician, in immediately you cannot give this skill to someone else. Okay, it is difficult. Through a particular process, someone has to acquire those skills. That's why transferring money or transferring capital, financial capital, is very easy but whereas transferring other capital is very difficult. Okay, people who are deprived of education for many generations. Okay, so for them it is difficult to acquire education now. Okay, so these are the consequences related to skill. Okay, next, in order to be able to successfully discharge his roles, a manager should possess three major skills. So that means being a manager, he should have these three skills: conceptual skill, human relations skill, then technical skill. Okay, being mechanical engineer, being engineer, so obviously you are going to possess some of the technical skills related to your domain. Okay, now what do you mean by conceptual skill? Conceptual skill ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? Sachin? Sachin B. What do you mean by conceptual skill? Okay, conceptual skill means, so it is about generating ideas. Okay, conceptualizing means understanding the environment and understanding the organization in which you are working. Okay, so that is the conceptual skill, understanding the environment. Okay, understanding the situation and generating ideas, generating solutions, that is the conceptual skill. Then human relation skills means having good relations with subordinates. Okay, having good relation with people in which you are or having good relation with team members. Okay, or with your subordinates, that is human relations skill. Technical skill means, so it may be having skill to operate a particular machine, having skill to write program or code for a particular application. Okay, or it may be related to developing a web. Okay, so like this it may vary depending on your domain expertise. So as we discussed, conceptual skill deals with ideas, technical skill with things. So that means it may be related to operating a machine, writing a code, developing a software. Okay, so those are the technical skills. And human skill with people, that means having good relations with people. While both conceptual and technical skills are needed for good decision making, human skill is necessary for a good leader. Okay, a manager also should have a leadership qualities. That means he has to influence his subordinates. In order to achieve that, he should have good human relations skill also. Okay, so there is an illustration which represents the relation between different various management levels and the type of skill required for a particular level of management. Okay, so if you consider top management, okay, for a manager who is working at top level, which type of skill is more relevant? Okay, out of conceptual skill, human skill and technical skill, which type of skill is more relevant for top management?
Of course, conceptual, sir.
Conceptual skill. What about human relations skill?
Sir, he need not to have much human relation skills, sir, because the supervisors are going to work and interact with workers, sir. That's why at top level management, they need not to have much human relations, sir. That's why.
Okay. What about technical skill?
They should have technical skills, sir.
They should have. Okay. Okay. So according to management concepts, okay, and actually top management, they should have very good conceptual skill. Okay, so this is the conceptual skill. So they should possess conceptual skills. Okay. Then again, human relation skill also required. This is human relation skill for top management. Then the amount of technical skill required for top level management is almost insignificant or very less. Okay. Whereas in case of middle management, comparatively, so middle level managers should also possess conceptual skills. But when compared with conceptual skill required for top management, so it is less. Okay. And again, if you comes to human relation skill, same level of human relation skill is required for middle level management also. Okay, or middle level managers also. Technical skill compared to top management, more technical skill is required, but compared to supervisory level, it is less. Okay, this is about the technical skill. Okay, when it comes to supervisory level, which type of skill is very important?
Technical
Technical skill. Okay, so for supervisory level, technical skill is very important. Okay, as mechanical engineers, what are the technical skills you need to acquire throughout your graduation?
Visualization skills, sir.
Visualization skills. Then
analysis of different entities such as stress, strain.
Okay. As mechanical engineers, you should have knowledge of various manufacturing processes. Okay, and you should have some knowledge about operating machines. Even it may be a CNC or it may be a traditional lathe or milling machine. Okay, and you should have knowledge of designing. Okay, that means you must be having aware of some of the CAD tools. Okay, and you must be able to generate programs, that is CAM, computer aided manufacturing skills. Okay, so these are the technical skills required for. These are some of the technical skills required for mechanical engineers. Okay. So at supervisory level, technical skill plays a very important role and it is very relevant. And even since you are managing your subordinates, you should have human relation skills. Okay. Whereas conceptual skill required, but it is very less. Okay. So almost it is not significant for a supervisory level manager. Okay. So this is about the relation between skill set of managers and the level of management. For top level management, conceptual skill and skill is very relevant. For middle level management, almost all the three to some extent they are relevant for middle level management. For supervisory level, technical skill is more relevant. Okay, and human relation skill is equally relevant for all the three levels of management. Okay, as we discussed, conceptual skill refers to the ability of a manager to conceptualize the environment. That means to understand the environment. If it is already it is already established company, okay, it is about understanding the existing company. Okay, if it is a new company which you are setting up now, then you have to conceptualize what should be the working culture. Okay, and what is the objective. Okay, how you are going to run this company in future. That is the conceptualization. You have to visualize what is going to happen in future. Okay, after starting a company, that is conceptualizing the environment and the organization in which you are working, and your own job. That means the job of top level manager, so that he can set appropriate goals for his organization, for himself and for his team. So at times, okay, so even managers, so they want to climb upward in their jobs. Okay, they want to get promotion, they want to get good benefits out of their performance. Okay, that is also part of conceptual skill. At the same time, they have to motivate their subordinates by telling them, if you work properly, you are going to get this benefit and you are going to get the promotion. Like that, they must be able to motivate their subordinates. For that also, they should know, okay, if their subordinates work properly or they perform well, what are the benefits they are going to get. Okay, so this skill is more relevant at high level management. Technical skill is the manager's understanding of the nature of job that people under him have to perform, more relevant at low level management. Okay, suppose after your graduation, if you work in a manufacturing company, okay, so you may be working as a quality engineer or production engineer, where people who have ITI or degree holders, okay, they are operating machines. When there is a problem in machine, or when there are issues related to production, so then you have to interfere and you have to guide them, or you have to solve some of the problems related to increasing production, okay, or reducing the cost of production, or achieving the targets given by top level management related to production. Okay, so in order to do all those things, you should have some technical skill. You should know how machine will work. Okay, so how if there is problem, you must be able to give ideas to repair the machine. Okay, so this will happen. That's why technical skill also required for supervisor level managers. Human relation skill is the ability to interact effectively with people at all levels. Since management is nothing but managing resources, that is human resource, material, machines, money. Okay, so human relation skill is also very important for all levels. This type of skill remains consistently important for managers at all levels. Okay, next there is a question. You have to answer, you have to type the numbers. Who can shift with great ease from one industry, that means from one company to another, without an apparent fall in their efficiency? ಸೊ ಯಾರು ಒಂದು ಕಂಪ್ನಿಯಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಂಪ್ನಿಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲಸ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕೆಲಸಕ್ಕೆ ಸೇರಿದ್ರು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇನು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಕಂಪ್ಯಾರಿಟಿವ್ಲಿ, ಹೂ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಈಸಿಲಿ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಒನ್ ಕಂಪ್ನಿ ಟು ಅನದರ್ ಕಂಪ್ನಿ? Okay, you can start typing your answer. You can type as 1, 2, 3. Okay, if your answer is top managers, type 1. If your answer is middle managers, type 2. Okay, first line managers, type 3. So question is, who can shift with great ease from one industry to another without an apparent fall in their efficiency? Okay, so think on your own before giving answer. Okay, so don't look at others' answer. They may be wrong. I will ask some of you to justify. If you justify properly, you may get some bonus points. Okay, you may get 2 bonus points for justifying your answer. Okay, Santosh. Why first line managers can easily shift from one company to another company?
ಸರ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ನಾಲೆಜ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸರ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ.
ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ನಾಲೆಜ್
ಹಿಂಗಾಗಿ ಐತಲ್ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಅವ್ರು ತೆಗೆದ್ರು ಏನು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅವರು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊತಿರ್ತಾರೆ.
Okay, suppose if you are working in a manufacturing company where they are using traditional lathe machines, traditional milling machine, that means old machines, and if you shift to a new company where they are using CNC machines, do you think is it easy for you to work efficiently at the initial stages in new company? ಈಸಿನ ಅದು?
ಆ ತರದ್ದು ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಸರ್.
ಆ ಥರ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ. So again, you will be having expertise in a particular domain. When it comes to technical skills, you are having expertise in a particular domain. Okay. Next, Kumar.
Sir, top level management ಬರೀ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್. ಅದು ಎನಿ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೂ ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಂಪ್ನಿಲಾದ್ರೂ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಸರ್. ಅವರು ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್
ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಂಪನಿ ಆದ್ರೂ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು.
ಆದ್ರೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈನ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜರ್ಸ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಂಪ್ನಿಗೆ ಹೋದಂಗೆ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್ ಇದು ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ನಾಲೆಜ್.
Okay. So the correct answer is first one, top managers. Okay. Comparatively, top managers can easily shift from one company to another company, irrespective of the technical knowledge. Okay. Since the skills required for top managers are conceptual skills and human relation skills. Okay. So they can shift compared to other level of managers. They can shift easily from one company to another company. Okay. So people at the top shift with great ease from one industry to another without an apparent fall in their efficiency. Their human and conceptual skills seem to make up for their unfamiliarity with the new jobs technical aspects. Okay. If you read business pages in newspapers, you can realize, okay, when companies appoint CEOs, okay, so at times they will shift from an automobile company to a software company. Okay, so the reason is, so they have same conceptual and human relation skills will be applicable for almost any type of company. Okay, that is the reason. Next, managerial effectiveness. Okay, in order to manage effectively. Okay, so what are the things you should consider, or how effectively you can manage? Okay, all those things we are going to discuss in this topic. Okay, now I think you can see poll. You can answer for your attendance in poll. Is it visible? ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? Are you able to apply answer in poll? Are you able to answer in poll? Poll visible idya?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, next I will continue. Managerial effectiveness. According to Peter Drucker, a manager's performance can be measured in terms of two concepts. One is efficiency and another one is effectiveness. Okay, so now we look into the meaning of efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is the ability of a manager to do something correctly, that is the lowest possible cost or cost acceptable to the competitive environment. Okay, efficiency is the ability of a manager to do something correctly. That means if you get a target, okay, so design a product such that it will cost 1.5 lakh and it has to perform these functions. If we get the specifications, then if a manager is able to come up with a concept where he is able to produce that product, okay, so within the limits, that is efficiency, is the ability of a manager to do something correctly by considering cost. Okay, effectiveness is the ability of a manager to do correct things, that is achieve high levels of value. So that means for the same cost, if you are able to increase its performance of any product, okay, then that will add value to the product. Okay, suppose if a car is giving a mileage of 15 kilometers per liter of fuel, okay, and if for the same cost, if you are able to increase that mileage from 15 to 18, so that will be added value. Okay, like that effectiveness will be considered or it will be evaluated. Okay, so if a car manufacturer can provide the customer a better car without changing the price, the value has gone up. Okay, if you can give the customer a better car at a lower price, the value goes up, goes way up. So that means again for a 3 lakh, if you had suppose the cost of the existing model of a car is 3 lakh, okay, and again if you come up with the new model of the car for same 3 lakh cost with some added features, then value for that product is more. Okay, customer will give more value to the new model of car with some upgraded features which cost same as the previous model. That is one way. In another way, instead of quoting the same value for the new model of the car, if you are able to reduce from 3 lakh to 2 lakh 90,000, then so that value will be more, but practically it is very difficult to achieve. Okay, so you have two examples of cars from two companies, okay, Nano and Alto. Okay, so both are low cost cars. Okay, which is successful in market?
Alto, sir.
Alto. Why Nano failed in market?
Sir, it is
Sir,
too
because
small,
its
sir.
USB was, sir, because its USB was cheap car, sir,
It
not
was cheap,
family car. Sir, it
cheap,
was displayed as a cheap car.
described as cheap car.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then
Sir, and even the features were lagging, sir. Due to
features.
cost cutting, due to cost cutting, the sheet
Okay.
to
Then
bias very easily.
uh,
Sir, then Maruti has a
continue. Right.
Maruti. Sir, Maruti has a large fan base since 1980s only in India.
Okay. So again, here you can consider adding value. Okay. So efficiency and effectiveness both play an important role. Okay. Simply, if you give a product for less cost, okay, that is not the only criteria to be successful in market. We have the example of Nano. Okay, even Tata is having vast experience in this field of automobiles, so similar to Maruti. So they are both are competitors, but Maruti is successful, whereas Nano, which was a competitor for Alto, failed miserably in the market. Okay, because there are many reasons. That's why marketing is a very difficult task. Or conceptualizing things that is going to happen in future, it's difficult to predict. They thought, okay, so since we are providing a car for 1 lakh, okay, we may be successful and people will buy in large quantity. Then we can rule market. That was the prediction. But when Nano was introduced to market, people hesitate to buy because other than having a luxury of having a car, people also thought about okay, how society will treat us. It was considered as poor man's car. Okay, so people don't want to project themselves as poor. Okay, even though they may be having less money, they don't want society to identify them as poor. Okay, so one is about its branding. It was branded as poor man's car. Another thing is its technical aspects. Okay, its performance, sound, okay, and safety. People also worried about those things also. Okay. Whereas Alto, okay, even today you can see Maruti 800. Okay, so 20 or 30 years old model car today people use from Maruti. Okay, because that indicates compared to this Nano, even the 30 years old Alto Maruti 800 has more value. Okay, so that's why effectiveness and efficiency also plays a role. Okay, and again brand value, how you project, okay, how you add value to a product. Okay, while branding itself, at times you may be successful to add value for a product only because of good branding. Okay, so in branding itself Nano failed, whereas Alto, they are coming up with new models, and even today so they are ruling the least less cost car. Okay, so car category. Okay, they are leading the market. Okay, next, as managers, when you try to maximize both efficiency and effectiveness, at times they may be contradictory. That means if you try to increase efficiency, that may result in decrease in effectiveness. If you try to increase effectiveness, that may affect efficiency. Okay, so these two are illustrations. Okay, where if you are a manager of a bank, okay, assume that you are manager of bank. If people complain about long queues in front of ATM, how you are going to solve this problem? People are complaining about queues in front of ATM because there is only one ATM machine. Okay, there is one machine. They are complaining about queue. How will you solve this problem? Huh?
Digital money.
Digital money. Okay, so you are suggesting that instead of using ATM, okay, so install our bank app. Okay, use that. Don't come to ATM. Okay. Any other solutions?
Installation of another machine in same cabin.
Keeping another machine. Okay. Then, okay, any other ways to solve this problem?
Increase the efficiency of a machine.
So that, okay, so the complete processing time for a transaction, okay, you are thinking about reducing the transaction time of the machine. Okay. Then, okay. So here, if you consider efficiency as reducing cost, we discussed about a problem. Okay, we discussed about a problem. If you consider efficiency as reducing cost, operating cost of banking. Okay, if you can satisfy all these customers by keeping only one ATM. Okay, so then cost will be less, since if you want to add another machine, extra space is required to keep another machine. Again, you have to leave some space for queue and other things. Okay, additional investment that will result in decrease in efficiency, since cost is increasing. Okay, but at the same time, if you don't go for increasing the number of machines, then there is another problem. Your effectiveness, that means value for your service may decrease. People may complain about the service they are getting from your bank. Okay, so that's why these two are contradictory. In order to add value, either you have to, one way is you have to think about increasing the number of machines. Otherwise, as some of you suggested ideas, if you are able to convince people that, okay, instead of using liquid money, okay, go for digital transactions. If people get convinced, you can try that. Okay, and again, that doesn't cost you much. You can keep efficiency. Okay, at the same time, you can try to achieve effectiveness. You may be successful or you may not be successful. Okay, that is one thing. Then the same problem may arise if you are having a retail shop, okay, a retail grocery shop. Again, after purchase, people may be in queue in front of a billing counter. Again, they may complain about the service. If you go for instead of having single billing counter, if you go for 2 or 3, then again you have to pay salary for 3 employees, and you may be having 3 billing machines or 3 computer systems, and you may require extra space. That will result in increase in cost. Okay, that will reduce the efficiency, but effectiveness can be increased. That means since people, our customers will be happy, since you are valuing their time, you are giving value for their time, they will be happy. Value for your service will increase. That means effectiveness will get improved. Whereas efficiency, that means you have to invest more money to satisfy customers. Okay, so that's why at times maximizing efficiency and effectiveness at the same time often creates conflict between the two goals. So in order to achieve efficiency, you might be compromising with effectiveness. At times, in order to enhance effectiveness, you are compromising with efficiency. Okay, so as manager or as decision maker, you don't have other options. You have to take decisions under some constraints, under some given situation or given limitations. Okay, you have to take decisions. Next, as we discussed at the customer service counter at a local store or bank, being efficient means using the fewest people possible at the counter, so that you have less number of employees, the salary that you have to pay will be less, and cost incurred for providing that service will be less. Being effective though means minimizing the amount of time that customers need to wait in line. Okay. Next, again, if you want to minimize the time, then again, so you cannot work with few people. You have to increase the number of billing counters. You have to increase the number of machines in bank, ATM in bank. Okay. So I will wind up this class. If you have any questions to ask, you can ask. Otherwise, I will stop this class. Any questions idre kelbodu. Okay, if you don't have any questions,